8 million Americans have slipped into poverty since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to NBC News. With little to no government intervention for many so far, that slip into poverty might turn permanent for many families, a lot of whom have children sitting in our classrooms or on Zoom meetings this fall. And as we know, and as the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia cites, poverty is a strong indicator of a high ACEs score for children. Add in that just living through the pandemic is potentially an added ACEs tally for children, and we have a mental health crisis brewing in our schools. So with this video, I want to discuss pediatrician Nadine Burke Harris's TED Talk on ACEs, how a poverty simulation in my district helped me conceptualize the issues my students are facing, and what my district is doing to help students focus on their own social and emotional health. In Harris's TED Talk, she proves the efficacy of ACEs scores' predictive value for our population and how those scores transcend racial and economic and social classes. And like any doctor who makes a realization in the field that adversely affects the health of patients, Harris thought the research would lead to swift and effective response from not only the medical community, but schools, the government, and organizations nationwide. Harris said, "I figured the minute that everybody else heard about this, it would be routine screening, multidisciplinary treatment teams, and it'd be a race to the most effective clinical treatment protocols." To be honest, I kind of found that naive. Addressing ACEs is not the same as addressing a cancer breakthrough or something else. It should be, but it's not. Addressing ACEs would require spending money, not making money. That's always a barrier to progress, even when it comes to the well-being of the populace. Perhaps this only stood out to me because of the stagnation of the government in addressing COVID, but it did strike a chord with me while I was watching it. The most effective treatment protocols, like Harris would want and like any of us would want, would include addressing poverty, it seems to me. And that's been something that's been proven to be a sticking point in policy positions for decades, which has led to there being nationwide poverty across every community. That leads me to my second point of the popular poverty simulation my district ran for new teachers last year. My district is an 80+% free or reduced lunch district. There's poverty throughout the city and in our schools. That's evident. So last year they did a poverty simulation in which they brought in a group who assigned teachers roles in a family that they had to perform, and it was a family that was impoverished, and we were given a amount of money we had each week or for the month, and then each week we had to pay bills, we had to figure out transportation, we had to figure out how to eat, how to get the children back and forth to school or back and forth to everything else they needed, and it was difficult. And this is coming from somebody I grew up in a highly impoverished area, and I was not impoverished myself, but I did see the effects of it as a child and as I grew up. But it's still just it's a different feeling when you're going through it, even in the simulation. And combine that with the recent position my wife has taken as a virtual teacher, in which we needed to visit a lot of her students who are doing virtual learning this fall. And I found areas in our city, Garden City is not very big, but I found areas in our city I've never seen before and never even knew existed that were clearly very impoverished. And, and that's just something I think our society is so segregated between the classes that many of us don't see. And I thought that was very eye-opening. So finally, our district has continued to reach out and make progress in the types of programs we were using to address social emotional learning. Our district has adopted the CCC framework this year, with teachers delivering social emotional lessons during our mentoring time. And to begin the year, we have started with self-regulation. They gave scenarios, like different scenarios you might find in school. Pretty simple, like you have a missing assignment, and then they had the students make a goal, and then a plan to reach that goal, and on how to not have more missing assignments throughout the year. And so hopefully we'll dig a little bit deeper than just that superficial stuff, dig a little bit deeper than that going through the year. But I think it's a step in the right direction for sure. Personally, I have made some steps towards addressing social emotional learning, addressing some of the to be culturally responsive in my classroom. For example, I modified some of my teaching practices. For example, I don't assign homework at all, and late work for this year. Not just this year, but I adopted it this year, and I'll use it throughout my entire teaching career at this point, in my opinion. I don't deduct points for late work, and I don't have a a concrete cutoff period where I won't accept late work anymore. I will at the end of the semester. I'll probably give myself 3 weeks before the end of the semester where I'll cut off late work. Can't turn in after that. But otherwise, I'll take late work. And I'm also doing retakes for my assessments. Students who bomb an assessment, who don't do well, should have the opportunity to make that up. If they bomb an assessment early in the semester, that shouldn't be the end. That they still have the semester to prove that they can meet that standard. And so what I have set up my retakes is they have to do a review assignment. So if they really mess up an assignment, if they really mess up, they get an F. I do a forced retake. They have to retake it. If they get a D, then they can or higher, they can choose to retake. And so the retake review assignments are a 1-pager, a 3 to 4 paragraph essay, focus notes, or they have to deliver a persuasive speech. Now, I added that one in there because I'm a speech teacher, so that only made sense. And what they have to do in those assignments is they have to review the material and show me that they understand the material. And then they can do the retake. So I think it's a great way to have them almost reteach themselves and review the material and do that whole process while the rest of the class may be moving on to something else. And I'll help them through it. And even if that means, taking a day where the rest of the class is working on the new unit, I'll help them do the retake assignment in class that day and then help them catch up with everything else. And everything has worked out really well. The late work policy has not stopped most of my students from turning the work on time, just like they did previously. And I do find that students are much more likely to turn in work if they know they're going to get full credit for it. At least so far, that's been the case. So I think those things really help out, especially we talk a lot about grace, and I think those things will help students not fall so far behind in school. And I think a lot of time that's the issue. I think the Harris's video, the TED Talk video, really pinpoints some of the issues with ACEs and how that's affecting our students. COVID has just exacerbated that. And I think it's really up to us as districts to find ways to get teachers to recognize those issues that are happening in our communities that we may not see in our personal lives, and help us develop ways and to help our students move through it as well. Thank you.